Before getting to tier list, I just like to say 90% of the time or more, I'm running Grapple or Stim. So if a tactical requires a lot of skill, or you need to know its gimmick, or you need to do this or that, and that only is earned with experience, I'm probably not going to have it. Just like to get that out of the way. Let's start off here strong with Grapple. It's what you're probably going to use first. It's the thing that it's first on the list. It's always unlocked. It's on a lot of the default profiles. Overall, you're probably going to be running Grapple most of the time. Grapple, it's fun. It's smooth movement, makes it very enjoyable. It does have skill to it. So if you can chain your two grapples together to carry your movement speed from one grapple to another, you may be able to go around something that you didn't think you could have done before. There also is the element of skill where, based on where you look, your grapple will behave slightly differently. However, from the get-go, just picking up as you first get the game, it's gonna be fun. Very user-friendly. I'd say it's very forgiving. And for that reason, it's just a solid all-around ability. It doesn't go anywhere less than S tier. It deserves a spot. Next up is Phase Shift. This is a tactical that I use a lot more beginning of the game. I don't use it as much now. Again, mainly using Grapple and Stim. However, I will say this is probably what I think to be one of the skill-dependent tactical there is. Going in and out from one world to another, it may seem just very easy, you know. Can't get here because you're no longer there. However, does it matter if you're no longer there because you're going to reappear? You cannot stop reappearing. This is where skill comes into. If you know where the enemy is, and you can predict where they're going to be when you reappear, then that's good. That'll help you win the gunfight. But it takes even more skill to predict where the enemy thinks you're going to be. And it also takes a lot of skill to combine these so that the enemy doesn't know where you're going to come out, but you know where they're going to be. Ideally, that's how you would play. Again, very skill based. So I feel like a lot of new people won't be using it. However, the ability itself is solid. It's a good ability. It's not the best. Then again, I don't have much experience. I don't know how top level phase shift can be. And for that reason, it deserves a solid B tier. Cloak is one of those abilities that you see and you realize, wow, that's not a good cloak. If someone's running across the field, you will see them. If someone's standing out in the middle of the open, you will see them. It may take you an extra second to question yourself, wait, is the guy there? But you will see that. Versus Titans, it's more effective. Sometimes you can't even see it depending on how well you are hidden. Overall, I'd say the ability itself would be a C tier. However, there's one thing that drives it down all the way to D tier. And that is the ability to not uncloak on demand without shooting. Now, the reason this is bad is because as a cloak, you're trying to hide. So shooting, you're giving away your position, you're making sound, you're alerting the enemy, hey, I'm over here. If you could have the ability to, halfway through your cloak, cancel, and then start regenerating again, it'd be much more useful. You'd have much more opportune moments to take advantage. And there are a lot of times where you look into a fight and you're like, wow, maybe if I cloak at this moment, I could have won. Because he wasn't expecting me there. However, you just used your cloak, a couple seconds earlier, but you couldn't cancel it. So it had to drain all the way down and then regenerate slowly back up. And for that reason, it's D tier. Next up is Stim. Stim, like I said, is one I use a lot of the time. 90% of the time, along with Grapple. And that's because it's a good ability. Most of the time, you're probably using it to get around the map, as having that speed boost makes it a lot more fun. You're able to get around quicker. Combining the movement speed with, combining movement speed with the ability to navigate certain areas of the map. It's really enjoyable. You feel like, wow, that was very smooth. It's very enjoyable just to run around and have speed as you go flying through the map. It's also very good in combat, specifically close quarters combat, because the regeneration to your health, it's, if you're getting hit, well, you got a little bit more health. You can take a little more. You can tank a little bit more damage. The speed boost also helps you, evade shots. Makes you harder to hit. If you pair it with a good SMG or a shotgun, you can do lots of damage and then just fly away with speed. And for that reason, it's a solid A tier. Next is Holo Pilot. This is a very mediocre tactical. It's very bland, I would say. This is your Cheerios of cereal. It's good, but it's not the best. It's not bad, but it could be better. Holo Pilot, it really doesn't take much skill to use. However, there are a few things that could definitely help in your performance. For example, in combat, when you face an enemy and they're shooting at you, if you're running towards them and use your Holo Pilot, it acts as a little bit of a shield. The enemy isn't going to switch fire to you and be like trying to avoid your Holo Pilot. They're just going to try to spray through it. That Holo Pilot does absorb damage. May not be much, but it does absorb damage. Maybe that's enough to help you win the gunfight, but it's worth a shot. Skilled enemies usually won't fall for it. Running straight in a line is something you don't do very often. If an enemy isn't that experienced, they'll probably shoot it. But overall, it's not the best. But it's also not bad. For that reason, deserves a solid mid-tier at C. Second to last coming in is Pulse Blade. I really have no complaints about this ability. It functions as it says. Pulse Blade is one of those abilities where it can have two different ways of playing. There's one where you use the main ability of the Pulse, where you send it out, look for enemies through walls, predict where they're going to come out, and then fire. There's also the other part, the Blade part. You can use it as a throwing knife. Both are very good. Knowing where an enemy is, very good. Being able to one-shot a pilot, very good. But it deals a one-hit kill. It's high risk, high reward. If you like that style of play, then use it. In my opinion, it deserves A tier. Now last on this list is Shield. There are a few things I must say about this. Don't play it. It's a solid F tier. You really shouldn't use it. Versus pilots, you're making yourself a stationary target. They can just jump over, go around. If they've got movement, if they've got speed, they can do that. The only way it's effective is in long range scenario where they can't do that. Versus Titans, you could shoot a few rockets through it, do some damage to Titans, but Titans have the ability to do damage to the shield. The shield is not immune to damage. It is not just absorbing everything. It takes damage, it has health. And a Titan can do a lot of damage. They are meant for Titan on Titan combat. It can destroy your shield and it'll go right through you. In a movement shooter, it really doesn't belong here. Sure, it's fun as a meme, it's fun as a gag, but there really is no reason you should use it as your main ability. The best use of the shield is when you throw it at the enemy for an execution.